This changes everything for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have some huge updates to go over today ahead of the game on Monday, not only on the Steelers side, but some huge injury updates surrounding the Texans that change the outlook of the game. But not only that, we do have injury updates on the Steelers side of things, but also their plan, the Steelers' plan, being revealed ahead of the game on Monday, and some comments from Terrell Austin, Mike Tomlin, and even Arthur Smith, who's being recruited from by another team, rather. A ton to go over on this episode, folks. But before we get into it, thank you guys for your support. You guys have been absolute beasts. Let's dive right into it. Now, you can see this tweet right here by Nick Fairbairn. Let's start with the Steelers side of things. Then we're going to dive into some crucial updates surrounding the Texans. But they practiced today and were nearly fully healthy outside of Jaylen Warren, who missed practice with an illness. And we're going to dive into, of course, what it means and how everyone's looking. But folks, things are looking very, very good. And the Steelers are once again healthy now, as we are just a few nights away from the game on Monday, with playoff games starting on Saturday. Of course, the Steelers play Monday. But I do have one update in particular I want to bring to you guys that is very crucial and you're going to want to stay tuned for. But before we get into it, a very quick reminder, this video is brought to you by Gosse. And ladies and gentlemen, if you download it using the link below and use code DIGESTNFL, you'll get $20 when you trade your first 100. And Gosse is the largest prediction market in the United States. And on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, pretty much anything. And whether you're in California, Texas, or anywhere else across the country, Gosse is live in all 50 states. And for us sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. And looking ahead to the game on Monday, you can see that if you trade yes on the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is what I'm going to be doing, you can make your own prediction and win some good money there. So me personally, I'm going to be trading yes on the Pittsburgh Steelers. They give the Steelers a 42% chance to win. And folks, it's genuinely a smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. So download Gosse with the link in the description, and don't forget to use partner code DIGESTNFL. Yes, Digest NFL to get your $20 bonus. And thank you to Gosse once again for sponsoring this video. Folks, let's dive right into the updates again. So let's dive into the injury report. Now, of course, I just covered, basically everyone being healthy. You can see Rodgers, Ben Skronik, Christian Kuntz, all these guys full participants, and TJ Watt being a full participant today is massive. Cam Heyward is resting, so he was a limited participant, and Jaylen Warren is down with an illness, but he should be back and will be back. Good to go on Monday. So this is massive news, and of course, we've known now for a few days that the Steelers are in a very, very good spot on, as it pertains to their injuries. But let's dive into the Texans side of things, because that's where things start to get very intriguing before we dive into some comments from the Steelers. So let's look here now. We have the full Texans injury update, but also one surrounding a running back here that we'll dive into in a minute. But you can see here, you have a few different players who didn't practice, a lot of players rather, who didn't practice. Now, we're going to be focusing on one. You can see Denico Autry, Jahar Jordan, Kamari Lassiter, and Jalen Reed were all either, taken off a designation, or in case of Kamari, Lassiter, of course, isn't practicing. But I want to zero in on Jahar Jordan because he is a running back who has now suffered a high ankle sprain. Now, this isn't the running back one. I'm not going to pretend it is the running back one. But at this point of the year, whether it's your running back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter at this juncture. Everything matters, for us as Steelers fans, right? Because no matter how high up on the depth chart they are, missing players directly impacts the games. You can see here, Texans running back Jahar Jordan suffered a high ankle sprain against the Colts on an apparent hip drop tackle Sunday, and testing showed recovery time is undetermined, and he was the primary back, or rather now the primary back for the Texans is Woody Marks, with Nick Chubb as depth and a couple of other guys as well. Now, I do want to make it clear again, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but I'm going to say Jahar Jordan. Jahar Jordan hadn't really made a huge impact, a bit over 100 yards this year, but every little wrinkle. Now, I also want to make it clear, you never want to wish for injuries ever, right? And I hope he, recovers fully. But these injuries, especially given the fact that now we're approaching the playoffs, every little injury has big implications for both sides. And of course, Jaylen Warren being down with an illness, hopefully he's going to be able to come back tomorrow to get his full week of practice in, to get his legs under him. But it is notable that, shout out to Gosse, it is notable that there is multiple, and you can see here there's multiple, players on the injured at least designations. Right now, of course, Jaylen Reed, see there, he was designated for a return from the IR, so he's coming back, which is pretty notable. And then a few other guys not participating. Even Denico Autry, one of their defensive ends, he's down on Thursday as well. So compare that to the Steelers, where they're basically fully good to go. I think the Steelers have a bit of an advantage here. Now, at the same time, you're going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL, but it's going to be on the Steelers to stop the run game. It's going to be on the Steelers to adjust their offense to be able to really take advantage of what they have now in, of course, DK Metcalf returning and others. But let me know down below. Do you think this will make a big impact? Do you think it will make a little tiny impact? Regardless, the Steelers being healthy genuinely changes everything. And really, the playoffs in a league where one win, basically winner moves on each game, right? There's no series like some of the other leagues. Health is everything, and this is very good news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, a couple other things I want to go over as well here. Just quickly surrounding Deshon Elliott. So there was a report that dropped from Mike Caboli on 93.7 The Fan. He said that the doctors thought he had a chance to come back, but the Steelers coaching staff and people didn't think that that was possible. So I don't think he's going to be available Monday. There's been some rumblings. I'll have a full video on it that he may be available and good to go on the upcoming week after this game against the Texans if they make it there. So keep an eye out for that, which is also absolutely huge news. He's defying all odds. The Steelers didn't think they were going to be able to bring him back, and or rather didn't think he was going to come back. It seems like he is going to be returning at some point, if of course they make it far enough. So shout out to Deshon Elliott for being an absolute beast out there. But let's dive into a few other things now. And I want to start with Arthur Smith. So a report dropped. The Titans are looking at him as a head coach. And Arthur Smith said, all my focus, and that's what he said, all my focus is on our guys and these guys. Anything I take away from that is not doing my job. So as much hate as Arthur Smith has gotten, he's kind of looked a lot better as of late randomly towards the second half of the season as the OC, not second half of the season, but better at times, right? Shout out to him. He's keeping his full focus, 100% of his time and focus on the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is what it should be, right? You're about to enter a playoff race where Mike Tomlin's looking for his first playoff win in whatever it is, right? A decade or however long it's been. Crucial game, and it's going to fall a lot on Arthur Smith, and he's playing under pressure as well here because teams like the Titans, who are going to be interviewing him and looking at him after the playoff game, are going to look at what he's done and what he's doing right now to prepare this week against the Texans. So a lot is on the line. And you even have Terrell Lawson talking about his defensive coverage breakdowns and why that went wrong against the Ravens and how he can change it. And he said the biggest thing was at the time, it was a 3rd and short, 4th and short, and we were going to try to make sure that we weren't going to let Lamar or Derek control the game, and they didn't execute it properly. And so we'll get back on the drawing board and see what we can do to make sure that doesn't happen again. But again, we take risks like that to try to make sure their best guys don't beat you, and we lost in those particular instances. Don't love that comment from Terrell Lawson, who's approaching now, and this is the last year of his contract. You got beat twice, one time Patrick Queen on Zay Flowers, the other time the exact same play. I don't know exactly who was on him. Figure it out. You can't just say it's because you're trying to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Now, that is probably why it's happening, but you can't let 2 chunk plays happen, let alone the Isaiah Likely, busted coverage catch that he had. I don't know if it was busted coverage. It wasn't. There was good coverage on him, but again, unfortunate giving up that many yards. Luckily, Tyler Lute missed the field goal, but it's going to be interesting, folks. And also, speaking of field goal, Chris Boswell said he wasn't aware that his missed, PAT was blocked, but knew it must have been deflected. And in case you guys missed that, Chris Boswell's, point after was blocked. So it wasn't a missed kick. It was blocked, especially that's why it hooked so bad. And if you go back and look at the clip, he was in final thing here before we wrap up. I know I'm hitting you guys with a ton of info, as I always do. That's why I'm sure you guys enjoy the videos. But Aaron Rodgers, on what he appreciates about head coach Mike Tomlin, he said there aren't any leaks in the boat. The antithesis of where I was. To go through a season like this and being able to focus on football has been really nice, calling out the New York Jets last year. So, folks, let me know down below what your thoughts are. Things are getting crazy very quickly, but the most important thing, the Steelers are healthy. The Texans are dealing with a few injuries, and we're going to keep you up to date. I'm going to keep you up to date every step of the way. You guys are absolute beasts. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.